one of the best examples I can give is one time, I'll never forget this. One time I went out for extra batting practice in Texas one day, and I'm pretty sure this was in '87. And Tony, I was hitting and working on a couple things. I wasn't really happy with what was going on. And Tony stopped and he said, "Do me a favor, to try this. If you can imagine me hitting left-handed, and so my left hand is on top of my right hand. My left side was my back side, and as a left-hand hitter. And he said, you know how if somebody's going to be in karate, and they're going to punch to the midsection of somebody, it's a short, violent extension of your arm into the midsection of who you're trying to fight, right? I mean, it's not a big roundhouse haymaker type. It's close to the body, and it's short and direct. And what you do is you just extend through the person that you would be trying to hit. He said, do the same thing. Do me a favor. He said, don't think about anything else. Watch the ball, and then get your top arm, your left arm, extended, intensely extended at the ball. I said, sure, I'll try that. And I hit the next 6 balls in the seats way back in right field. Now it was only batting practice, not like, hey, this is any real big deal, but that's a good example of, that's the right way to hit. When you watch guys now, you hit for velocity, exit velocity and power with extension. And if you're not getting extension with your your top arm, you're not going to be as effective. And it was one of the simplest and easiest and most understandable suggestions I ever got from a hitting instructor, and the results proved that. So, I mean, it was that kind of stuff. He didn't take me and give me drills off a tee or talk about my hips or my stride, and he just said, here. I mean, the fastest way to the ball, the fastest way in any athletic endeavor is a short, straight line with extension as quickly as you can get there. Try that. I mean, it was that simple, and he got it. He just got it. The other thing he would do, I'll tell you another story. Bring up another name, Pete Rose. Pete Rose had a great saying when he said, he told me one time, there's really only 4 things you need to know about hitting. I go, wow, tell me though what those are. And he said, move up in the box, move back in the box, move up on the plate, or move back back away from the plate. That's all you need to know. And that was Tony. It's like, how am I going to hit this guy? Well, I think I need to hit this guy. I need to back off the plate and close up my stance a little bit and try to extend to the opposite field because I'm having trouble getting to his fastball or, whatever it is. I did that. I learned that from Mock and from Tony. And I when I had trouble hitting against Roger Clemens, pulling his fastball the way I wanted to, I backed off the plate and tried to, and closed up a little bit, gave me an extra 2 feet before I had to make contact back over the plate, and I got some big hits against Clemens. Not trying to do too much, but as Mark said to me one time, most times you hit pitchers the way you want to. Sometimes you have to hit pitchers the way you can, and that would be a good way to sum up what Tony was great at as well.
Man, you've brought up so many great names. That's why I love doing this show. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about the things you've just mentioned. And before we get to more Twins news, I do want to thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. Go to ChamplinInsurance.com or just Google Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, and State Farm, and his name will pop up. And Tony's been handling my insurance for a long time now. He's been supporting the network for a long time now. He also handles Michael Russo's insurance.
Hi, TalkNorth listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new Quotes for Good program. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. For the Roy Smalley Show, I will be donating $10 to pitch in for baseball and softball. This provides baseball and softball equipment for kids in need. Be sure to mention the show when you reach out to us so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at ChamplinInsurance.com.
So all the great names you brought up, Clemens, Tony O, Pete Rose, Klazuski, Piniella. One of my favorite experiences as a young baseball writer was covering the Twins playing at Seattle in the old Kingdome. And I'm standing around the cage. It's early batting practice, and Puckett and Griffey are having this, very, as you would imagine, very animated conversation. Griffey loved Puckett. I went into the Mariners clubhouse one day to ask Griffey like one question, and like he kept blowing me off, and then he realized that I wanted to ask him about Puckett, and he like invited me over, sat me down in his locker, and talked to me for an hour about Puckett. Jay Buhner came over and joined. It was like I went from being an annoyance to being his best friend as soon as I mentioned Kirby's name. So these guys are standing around the cage talking and jawing, and in comes Lou Piniella, and it was classic Lou Piniella.
Who could talk and jaw with the best of them, too.
And, of course, it was Lou Piniella and a weekday afternoon, and he hadn't shaved in at least 4 days.
Yeah.
His hair looked like he just got out of bed. He was wearing like a polo shirt pulled out over jeans, like boat shoes, no socks, smoking a heater.
Yep. That's Lou.
Yep.
That was Lou.
I will tell you also, I'll also tell you that, there were a few really old school baseball writers in Seattle who covered Lou for a long time as the manager. They loved the guy. Yeah,
he's fantastic because he just there's no bullshit about Lou. Pardon the expression. He just is who he is. He says what he wants to say and what comes into his mind the first thing, and out it comes. And he's animated and he's funny and smart, and he was a delight. He really was, and funny when he didn't mean to be too. We used to laugh at him because he had some funny characteristics. I'll tell you a story about Lou as a hitting instructor for me, and this is again, he never was the official hitting instructor. I don't think. Maybe 1 year after I was gone before he managed, but he was working with me one time in Kansas City, and he said you have to use your legs more, and we're in batting practice, and he was talking about really sitting down hard on my back leg and driving toward the ball with my back leg into my front leg, and it was funny because we had, as it turned out, the videographer that we have for the Yankees was perched right near Lou in the dugout, taking video of all the various hitters. And I looked at it later and watched the video because I wanted to see what I had done mechanically, and there was some great, really good Piniella audio that was heard on the video. But long story short, I came up with 2 outs and 2 guys on, hitting against Dennis Leonard, who was one of the really fine pitchers of that era, really tough. And I got the count to 3-1, and now I'm looking fastball and really trying to work on what Lou had been talking to me about that day. It would be about using my legs, and I got a good pitch to hit, and I hit it on the grass over the center field fence for a 3-run home run. I think that was the same day that later on I hit one off of Don Hood right-handed. So that was the first time I had ever hit a home run from both sides of the plate in the same game. I'd hit 2 3-run home runs and drove in 6 runs, obviously. But what I was going to say about that, what an impact Lou had on me. But in the video recording, as I watched it later, Lou was standing right there, and the count got 3-1, and he said, I think he looks pretty good. I think he's starting to get this, and this will be interesting to see what happens on this 3-1 pitch. Sure enough, it went on the grass over the center field fence.
Wow. That's awesome stuff. A couple I want to ask you about Manager of the Year and Silver Slugger stuff. Remember, we have a deal with Bitesquad. The promo code is TALKNORTH, which will get your first delivery fee waived. But check Bitesquad.com. They might have a better deal for you in your area or overall. They're constantly running promotions. And even if they don't have a deal, it's a great company to work with. Restaurant food shows up at your door like it just came out of the kitchen, morning, noon, night, late night, snack time. You can just order ice cream if you want. office, home, wherever you happen to be. Bitesquad.com. I recommend uploading the Bitesquad app, uploading your information to it. Makes everything very easy. Manager of the year. I have seen some people, and just in the Twitterverse and on social media saying, okay, Aaron Boone had so many players hurt this year and they won so many games that he's got to be the manager of the year. I just look at, and I think I like Aaron Boone. I think they did a good job. I just think that's unrealistic. I think the Yankees median expected victory total has got to be at worst mid-90s, right? That amount of money they spend, the way they operate, their aggressiveness in free agency, everything else. The Twins, Twins proved by 28 games. I can't even remember how many games. And if the most optimistic people in baseball thought they might win in the mid 80s, and they went 101 while having their own sets of injury problems, including Sano not starting the season, and injuries to their pitchers, having to remake the bullpen midway through the season. To me, it's a slam dunk for Rocco, and I'm not the kind of person who just always promotes the hometown person. And here's the other thing. And this is where Minnesotans shouldn't be too paranoid. I went through this when Mauer was up for the MVP or Morneau was up for the MVP. People think that New York somehow has power when it comes to voting for these awards. They don't. The New York writers have the same number of votes as the Minnesota writers. So there's not going to be any regional bias here. It's just going to be who people pick. I think it's going to be Rocco.
I think it's going to be Rocco. I think it should be Rocco, and I say that in full acknowledgement that I thought Aaron Boone, were it not for Rocco, should be manager of the year. He was terrific. For all the reasons that you said, the injuries that they had were staggering, and the way he managed through that was really terrific. I mean, very admirable. And manager of the year, were it not for the fact that Rocco took, the Twins from where they were in 2018 and did what they did in 2019. And admittedly, to be manager of the year, you have to have horses. You have to have the players, and had Nelson Cruz not come over and done what he did, the Twins wouldn't have won. But he did. I mean, he was one of the players, and it's the same thing with every other manager. I mean, I've heard A.J. Hinch. Well, of course. But, I mean, you look at the talent that is on that team, and, you got to do a lot to mess that up. I mean, for the Houston Astros not to be really, really good. So I think Aaron Boone was terrific. I think he managed to, tough injuries. But the Yankees have the ability to go out and fix the problem. They can go out and get other players, which they did. During the course of the season, and that's all part of it. Just think that the win total going from 18 and 19, it just speaks for itself for Rocco.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, we have Silver Slugger Awards, Mitch Garver and Nelson Cruz. These are just easy choices. Cruz was the best DH in the American League, and Garver is by far the best offensive catcher in the American League.
Can I tell you another personal aside disappointment?
Sure.
The Silver Slugger Award was initiated in 1980.
Oh, bad time.
I would have won in 78, and I would have won in 79.
Yep.
And they started giving it away in 80. So a friend of mine who happens to work for he's head of all glove distribution and other things for Wilson Sporting Goods. He's a wonderful guy and a really smart guy, and we were talking one time, and he was talking about the Silver Slugger Award, and I said, I would have won two of those. And he said, no. I mean, he didn't say that, but I could tell that he wasn't. He just wasn't thinking that was the case. It turns out he went back and Googled and looked up the stats, and next thing I know, about 2 months later, I get a big package in the mail from Louisville Slugger. I said, "What the heck is this?" And I open it up, and it was I think it was the 1980 replica Silver Slugger Award, and the inscription on it said, "Presented to Roy Smalley, Silver Slugger Award winner in 1978 and 1979, if such an award had been available then." But
wow.
It's up in my house. It's one of the few things I actually have up in my house because I don't have